before I watched it, I was not a fan of theirs. But now I've actually heard their side of the story, I f***ing hate them.
Let alone someone flogging a crappy product off the back of his late mum.
They're done. They're done. William doesn't even want to hear Harry's name anymore.
Yeah, they were very worried about their safety, which I get that aspect of things after 6 episodes. I wanted to attack them.
And apparently at the top of his list is to say, peace out, Meghan, you're done.
And if you don't think that when William becomes king, he's going to strip you of your titles and the world will cheer that, you're out of your mind.
Is your sister a bully?
Yeah, obviously.
Prince William has finally snapped.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any more brazen, she did it again. Meghan Markle, yes, the same Meghan who's claimed to want privacy, dignity, space from royal baggage, has just tied her newest lifestyle product launch to one of the most sacred dates in the British royal calendar, July 1st, the birthday of the late Princess Diana.
Enough is enough. He has told friends he will strip Meghan Markle of the HRH title.
I quote you here. Me and M pulled the pin on a fun grenade. I actually started rooting for Prince Andrew.
But instead of solemn remembrance or even quiet respect, Meghan's marking the date with a fresh batch of rosé wine from her luxury brand As Ever. And if that alone didn't make you blink, the rollout comes complete with curated images, gushing magazine features, and of course, a nauseating claim that this is all meant as a tribute in the form of chilled wine by the pool.
On the website now, they are simply known as the Duke and she for Meghan, not his or her Royal Highnesses, which fills me full of joy.
Hello Magazine wasted no time spinning the drop as meaningful, quoting Meghan as feeling a deep emotional connection to the mother-in-law she never met, while conveniently reminding readers that her Napa Valley wine is highly coveted. One sundrenched product shot, one well-placed PR puff piece, and suddenly we're supposed to believe this isn't just a commercial stunt, it's Meghan honoring Diana's memory. But let's be honest, who really believes that? Angela Levin, the veteran royal expert who knows this family better than most, didn't hold back. She called it vile, twisted, and most cutting of all, expected. Because at this point, Meghan's track record speaks louder than any staged Instagram caption ever could. She's used Diana's name and legacy before to win sympathy, to sell stories, to shape her image. But using Diana's birthday of all things to plug a wine drop, that hit a different nerve.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing.
Even Levin, usually composed, admitted the announcement made her feel sick. Not uncomfortable, not disappointed, sick. And honestly, she's not alone. Across social media and even within royal circles, the reaction wasn't just outrage, it was disbelief, like Meghan had ripped open an old wound and poured a glass of wine on it, all while smiling for the cameras. And here's the thing, the date didn't have to be Diana's birthday. The wine could have launched the day before, or the day after, but it didn't, and that's what made people pause, because it raises one burning question Meghan can't seem to escape. Was this about legacy, or was this about leverage? But if you thought this was bad, wait until you hear what her PR team did next.
If you came up with the picture of an annoying, insufferable white woman, it would be Meghan Markle, even though she's not white.
The moment eyebrows started rising, Meghan's team went into overdrive. Within hours of the July 1st launch announcement, glossy puff pieces began trickling out from the usual suspects. Hello, In Style, and a few US-based blogs that just so happened to have early access to exclusive insights. All of them parroting the same line. This wasn't a stunt, it was a tribute. A loving nod to the mother-in-law Meghan never met, but allegedly felt deeply connected to, and that would almost be touching if it didn't come with a price tag and a press release. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a wine drop, this was a full-blown brand moment. Meghan's lifestyle label As Ever didn't just announce a rosé. No, they released metrics. Carefully worded metrics that, if you read closely, sound less like success and more like spin. Increased production by 10 times, the statement read, sold out within 4 hours. But wait, wasn't this the same playbook she used during the jam launch?
She thinks we're all animals and that she's helping us.
Yeah.
With jam and honey.
Scarcity, hype, and a handful of perfectly lit product shots? Critics were quick to point out the pattern. The numbers weren't audited, the site traffic wasn't independently verified, and surprise, surprise, there was zero transparency about how many bottles were actually available. Translation: the sellout might have been as choreographed as her calligraphy. Even worse, the PR tone bordered on smug. Overwhelming response, success beyond expectations, maintaining quality while meeting demand. The language was textbook luxury branding, but the timing? That was anything but accidental. Because when you choose Diana's birthday as your launch date, you're not aiming for subtle, you're betting on headlines. And here's the kicker. In a 2023 podcast, Meghan herself told Tina Knowles that a sellout would not be a win the second time around. That if it sold out too fast, it would mean they hadn't learned from the first launch's mistakes. So what changed? Apparently, nothing. Critics aren't buying the humble brag. They're calling it what it looks like: artificial scarcity repackaged as exclusive demand. One commentator went so far as to call it a jam scam sequel. Same smoke, same mirrors. And Meghan's silence? Not a single quote from her directly, just unnamed sources.
Meghan Markle has finally revealed why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H.
And he'll say M and you'll say H and your friends say M and it just is a thing.
It's a thing.
And do you both love it?
Yes, and I like nicknames a lot.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages.
Vague representatives, and a painfully curated Instagram video, one that included just enough pink, poolside, and polished branding to make Diana roll in her grave. But while the media danced around it, someone very close to Diana was reportedly seething. Behind palace doors, the silence was deafening. Prince William didn't release a statement. He didn't post a quote. He didn't even flinch publicly when the news broke about Meghan's latest tribute. But those close to him didn't need words to know exactly how he felt. Because if there's one thing William has guarded like a fortress, it's the legacy of his mother. And the moment Meghan turned Diana's birthday into a marketing stunt, insiders say something snapped. Let's rewind. After Diana's death, William made a conscious choice to protect her memory. He didn't want constant commemorations, no annual interviews, no brand collabs or tributes from strangers. In his own words, he wanted her remembered privately, not paraded out for public gain. Even Harry once agreed with that. There was a quiet understanding between the brothers. Diana wasn't for sale, until now. Sources say William was gutted, not just by the wine drop, but by the complete disregard for boundaries, because this wasn't some obscure Diana quote printed on a tag. This was a launch event cloaked in faux reverence. Meghan didn't just hijack a date, she twisted it into a sales pitch. And William knows what that means. He knows how this will play globally. His mother, whose legacy he spent decades honoring with grace and restraint, now reduced to a bottle of rosé.
The understanding is that when he becomes monarch, they will be formally stripped to the HRH.
And I'm sure Prince William has a lot of support from the public.
The worst part? Harry stood by and let it happen. That's what has reportedly enraged William more than anything. Because as one longtime aide put it, Harry knew better. He knew this date mattered. He knew exactly how William would feel, and he said nothing. For a man who once wept at his mother's gravesite, who spoke so fiercely about the pain of losing her, how could Harry let his wife turn Diana's birthday into a product drop? The answer, some say, is simple. He didn't let it happen. He couldn't stop it. One former palace source went even further, saying William sees this as a line being crossed, a deliberate act, and not just by Meghan, but by Harry too, because silence is complicity. And if that's true, then we're not just talking about hurt feelings, we're talking about a full-blown fracture between the brothers that may never heal. But it's not the first time Meghan's used Diana for her own gain, and unfortunately, it may not be the last. Let's not pretend this was a one-time offense, because Meghan invoking Princess Diana's name or spirit has practically become a brand pillar. Long before the rosé wine rollout, she was already threading Diana into interviews, speeches, podcasts, even yoga sessions. Remember that infamous claim that Diana was with her at a morning yoga class, that Meghan could feel her presence, smiling down, as if bestowing some celestial stamp of approval. Cue the collective eye roll from royal insiders. It's a pattern, and it's not subtle. From the engagement interview, where Meghan gushed about Diana as if she were a long-lost soulmate, to private anecdotes leaked to friendly outlets, there's always been this attempt to possess Diana's memory, to make her part of Meghan's narrative, Meghan's image, Meghan's story. But what critics can't get past is this: Diana was never Meghan's to claim. They never met. They never spoke. And while Meghan may feel a personal affinity for the late princess, many argue that's where the connection should end, because what we're witnessing isn't grief, it's branding, it's legacy as merchandise. It's a woman curating her identity, using the ghost of a woman she never knew. And now, that legacy is being bottled, labeled, and sold for profit.
Just when you think it cannot get any more gross, just when you think there is nothing sacred that Meghan Markle has not yet used, she goes and does this.
Even supporters of Meghan have struggled to defend this one, because while using Diana's name to shield herself from criticism or to generate empathy might have once seemed strategic, this felt flat-out exploitative. One royal commentator called it emotional grave robbing. Another labeled it weaponized nostalgia. And here's where it gets chilling. This manipulation doesn't just impact public perception, it affects Harry. Insiders claim Meghan often references Diana in private as a way to draw Harry closer. Comments like "your mom would be proud" or "she would have loved us together" reportedly became frequent during the early years of their relationship. and to a man still visibly haunted by grief, those words hit deep. Critics allege it's psychological leverage dressed up as spiritual connection. Because if Harry believes his late mother is spiritually aligned with Meghan, then how could he ever turn away from her? How could he say no? And if that's true, if Diana's memory is being used not just as a sales pitch, but as emotional currency within the marriage, then we're no longer talking about PR tactics. We're talking about control, and the man at the center of it, he's saying nothing. Which brings us to the question nobody can stop asking. Where on earth is Harry? He's nowhere, and that more than anything is the problem. As the headlines exploded and the backlash surged, Prince Harry remained stone silent. Not a word of defense, not a single clarification, nothing to even suggest that he had a hand in the decision or a problem with it. And for those who still held out hope that Harry might step in, draw a boundary, or at the very least delay the launch out of respect for his late mother, that hope died the moment the rosé went live. Because here's the truth that's becoming harder and harder to ignore. Harry isn't in control. Insiders say he had every opportunity to stop this, to tell Meghan, no, not Diana's birthday, that date is sacred. But he didn't, and people are beginning to wonder if he even can. One former palace aide put it bluntly, he's not the prince in this story anymore, he's the passenger, and this silence isn't new. Remember the podcast interview? Meghan gushed about Diana guiding their relationship from beyond, and Harry sat there nodding, smiling like it was normal, like it wasn't completely surreal for someone to claim their dead mother-in-law had blessed their yoga practice from the spirit realm.
The fake Duchess using Princess Diana's birthday to launch her new wine range.
But it's more than just awkward, it's strategic, because by staying silent, Harry avoids taking sides. He avoids confronting the painful reality that his wife's actions might be hurting his brother or cheapening the very legacy he once fought to protect. And for a man who's spent years publicly mourning his mother, that silence feels hollow. Some are calling it cowardice, others control. But either way, it's clear Harry's not steering this ship, and his absence from the narrative hasn't gone unnoticed. Angela Levin, who spent years interviewing him for his biography, described his current demeanor as robotic, not well, shrunken. The sparkle that once made him the cheeky prince, the beloved rebel, has dimmed, replaced with a man who seems to be going through the motions, detached, almost vacant. The question everyone's too afraid to ask out loud is this: has Harry lost himself? Because if he once stood for truth, for privacy, for honoring his mother with dignity, how did he end up here, watching silently as Meghan sells wine on Diana's birthday, while the world watches and William fumes? But the optics were about to get even weirder, because just when the outrage was reaching its peak, Meghan dropped another thank you video. And this time, she brought in someone else to seal the message. It started with a thank you, but it ended with deja vu. Meghan's post-launch video was supposed to be a sweet gesture, a soft, brand-friendly clip to thank fans for their support of the as-ever wine drop. But as soon as the footage hit Instagram, eagle-eyed viewers spotted something they couldn't unsee. Lilibet, dressed in a pastel pink outfit, clutching a specific toy, one that royal watchers knew very well. A rainbow-colored Jellycat plushie, identical to the one Princess Charlotte posed with back in 2015. And just like that, the Copycat whispers roared back to life. It's not the first time Meghan has been accused of mirroring Kate and William's aesthetics. The swing photos, the baby portraits, even the outfits. But this felt calculated, because this wasn't a coincidence. It was an echo, a deliberate nod to the Wales family's imagery, repackaged for brand content. And critics weren't having it.
There are reports that Meghan, who wears Diana's jewelry constantly, is fixated on her as well. I believe in Tom Bower's book, he says it's her objective to be Diana 2.0.
Absolutely.
The Daily Mail didn't mince words, calling the move part of Meghan's obsessive copycat branding. Social media lit up with side-by-side comparisons, showing Charlotte's Jellycat plush now seemingly replicated in Lilibet's hands. And when you pair it with the wine drop timed to Diana's birthday, the theory starts to form. Is Meghan deliberately tapping into royal nostalgia for profit? Insiders say yes, because this isn't just about a child's toy. It's about optics, about recreating the emotional warmth and public affection that Kate and William have earned naturally, and reverse engineering it for likes, sympathy, and ultimately sales. One royal commentator even claimed, it's not about Lilibet having a plushie, it's about that plushie being a known currency of the Wales kids. Meghan knew exactly what she was doing when she put it in frame. And here's where it gets murky. If Meghan is mimicking the Wales family this deliberately, what's the endgame? Is it admiration, competition, or something deeper, like a desire to rewrite her narrative through curated imagery that subconsciously links her to Diana, Kate, and the children the public already adores? Because to Meghan's critics, this isn't branding, it's identity theft. And to Prince William, who already feels his mother's memory has been hijacked, this is just another line crossed. Let's rewind a second. Because while the wine hasn't even dropped yet, mark your calendars for July 1st, Meghan's team is already laying the groundwork for another instant sellout narrative. But here's the kicker. We've seen this exact play before. It started with Jam, when Meghan's As Ever brand launched its very first product. those glossy little jars of strawberry jam. Her team wasted no time declaring the entire collection sold out. It was framed as a smash success, proof of Meghan's marketing genius. Headlines praised the Duchess for mastering the luxury lifestyle game, but what almost no one talked about was the quantity. Because according to several insiders and eagle-eyed fans, there weren't that many jars available to begin with.
But by far the most sickening part of this show for me was the constant use of Harry's late mother, Princess Diana, to stoke sympathy for Meghan. Having known both women, Princess Diana and Meghan Markle, I can say with absolute certainty they had nothing in common whatsoever. I couldn't think of two women more different.
Some estimate the inventory could have been in the low hundreds, not thousands, and certainly not enough to claim runaway demand. It was boutique, limited, and strategically timed, which makes the sellout feel a whole lot less like a retail victory and a whole lot more like a PR tactic. And now with the wine launch looming, that same playbook is back in motion. InStyle magazine reported that Meghan's brand increased inventory 10 times for the next product drop. But 10 times what? If the original batch was micro-sized, that scaling doesn't mean mass appeal, it just means more spin. The article goes on to say the site had double the traffic and still sold out in 4 hours. Yet no actual numbers were released, just curated phrases designed to impress without proving a thing. Critics are calling it out for what it is: scarcity manipulation, manufactured hype, a textbook way to make a brand look in demand when the actual data remains a mystery. And now Meghan's setting the stage for the exact same game with her rosé launch, only this time she's attaching it to Diana's memory for maximum attention. As one critic put it, if the jam was the warm-up, the wine is the headline act. But just when you thought the ingredients couldn't get more questionable, someone dug into her tea. If the jam raised eyebrows and the wine drop made stomachs turn, the tea downright boiled over. Because just as Meghan's team was basking in the faux glow of another supposed brand triumph, a YouTube sleuth uncovered something that shook the whole as-ever aesthetic to its core. The herbal teas Meghan proudly sold under her luxe lifestyle label? Yeah, they weren't Meghan's. Not even close. Enter Think Beautiful, a content creator who did what no one else in the media dared. She dug through the metadata, and what she found was explosive. Buried in the code of Meghan's as-ever website was a direct reference to, wait for it, the Republic of Tea. That's right, a widely available US tea brand you can find in your average Whole Foods or order on Amazon. Identical blends, identical descriptions. The only difference? Meghan's label slapped on the box and a massive price markup. The lemon ginger tea, Republic of Tea. The hibiscus blend, Republic of Tea again. Which means that Meghan's not handcrafting organic small batch brews in some sunlit Montecito kitchen. She's reselling someone else's product with a pretty wrapper and charging a premium. And the markup? One analysis showed a 75% price increase for the exact same tea. Now let's be clear, private labeling isn't illegal, but it's the illusion that stings. The curated branding, the pastel filters, the vague language suggesting these products are bespoke and hand-selected by Meghan herself, when in reality, it's repackaging, pure and simple.
William act differently than his father. People have spoke to suggest that William would not be so tolerant and perhaps he would strip them of their title.
All they've done for 5 years is complain and moan and see themselves as downtrodden victims.
Critics immediately dubbed it Meghan's tea scam, and the backlash was swift. Same tea, double the price, half the honesty. One commenter wrote. Another posted side-by-side product shots, showing how Meghan's team didn't even bother changing the flavor names. And yet, despite the growing outcry, Meghan stayed silent. No denial, no explanation, just more glossy videos and lifestyle content like nothing had happened. The timing couldn't be worse. Because with the Diana wine stunt days away, Meghan's credibility is already hanging by a thread. And now people are starting to ask the one question no luxury brand wants to hear. Is anything in this brand actually real? And as if all that weren't enough, the family Meghan ignores most keeps slipping further into the shadows. One person in particular reportedly fled the country altogether. Thomas Markle, once the proud dad who paid for her private school and drove her to auditions, is now reportedly living in the Philippines with his son far from Montecito, far from his grandchildren, and even further from the narrative Meghan sells to the world. And the silence surrounding his absence isn't just awkward, it's deafening. Let's not forget, this is a man who in Meghan's early public days was praised by her as a doting, supportive father. She told interviewers he was her rock, the one who made her believe she could do anything. And now, not only is he completely cut out of her life, he never even met Prince Harry. Not once. Not before the wedding. Not after. That fact alone still stuns people. Why? Some claim Meghan was embarrassed by him. Others believe she feared what he might reveal to Harry. Or maybe, just maybe, she wanted full control of the narrative, and Thomas Markle didn't fit the aesthetic. But it's not just Thomas. King Charles is also reportedly heartbroken. He's barely seen his American grandchildren. He wasn't even mentioned during the children's recent public video appearances. Not once. Not a photo. Not a passing nod. It's like the family tree got pruned, and not by accident. Because while Meghan showcases pastel table settings and filtered family moments online, the actual family has been systematically erased, replaced with carefully curated shots of Lilibet and Archie, staged just enough to tug the heartstrings, but never messy enough to show reality. And for someone who constantly speaks about healing, values, and connection, it all rings incredibly hollow. Even the press noticed. A viral tweet called it out perfectly. Meghan's brand preaches authenticity, but her real-life relationships are falling apart behind the scenes. It's linen and lavender on the surface, chaos and cutoffs underneath. And here's what stings. At the same time Meghan distances herself from the people who raised her, she clings to the memory of a mother-in-law she never knew, one who can't speak for herself. It's a trade-off that many find deeply unsettling. Because when you're selling lifestyle, you're selling an image. And right now, that image feels carefully engineered to erase the past, control the present, and manipulate the future. But if this is all a game, what's the end goal? The pink wine, the pastel videos, the Diana tributes, the tea rebrand, the quiet erasure of both her own father and her royal in-laws. At some point, you have to stop asking why Meghan does these things and start asking what she's building. Because this doesn't look like chaos anymore. It looks like a plan to rewire her image, not as an outsider to the crown, but as the keeper of its most sentimental parts. Diana's spirit, Harry's pain, royal motherhood, British nostalgia, curated and color-corrected for Instagram, just soft enough to seem wholesome, just sharp enough to outshine Catherine. It's a rebranding campaign disguised as healing, and it's working, on some, but for those watching closely, it's all too familiar. Critics have labeled it copycat culture warfare, a long-term strategy to hijack the emotional gravity of the monarchy without any of the duty. And for Meghan, Diana is the ultimate symbol, the perfect shield, the perfect prop, the perfect ghost to stand behind, because Diana can't call it out. And Harry? He's either too broken to fight it or too lost to see it. His silence speaks volumes. Some insiders now believe this was never about privacy, never about independence. It was about crafting a parallel monarchy, a lifestyle empire that feeds off royal iconography without ever having to follow the rules. Royal in vibe, rebel in branding. Think about it, every product ties back to a royal feeling. The tea is calm and refined. The jam? Traditional with a twist. The wine? Elegant, sentimental, dropped on Diana's birthday. It's not just marketing, it's a message. She owns the emotion now. But here's the cost. Burned bridges, broken families, a brother at war, a father exiled, and children growing up in a reality where Diana is invoked as a brand mascot more than a human being. If this is Meghan's endgame to dominate the legacy without honoring the living, then it's not just controversial, it's heartbreaking. Because Diana once tried to humanize the monarchy, and now her image is being sold, one product drop at a time. So now we want to hear from you. Do you think Meghan crossed the line with this wine launch? And what do you make of Harry's silence? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.